Hey guys, tonight we are not going to talk about anything extraordinary or fantastical. Instead, we're going to talk about the most mundane yet most mysterious thing we could possibly imagine. You. Yes, you. The person listening right now. Wherever you are. Nestled into your bed or couch. I want you to close your eyes for a moment and just feel the intricate machinery of your own body. Feel the slow, steady rhythm of your breath. The quiet hum of your heart. The weight of your limbs. It's so easy to take this all for granted, isn't it? This incredible vessel of bone, sinew, and thought that carries us through life. But if we were to peel back the layers, to travel back in time, we would find that this body is not a single creation, but a living museum, built brick by brick over billions of years. A collection of ancient solutions to ancient problems, stitched together into a masterpiece of evolutionary compromise. It is a story so vast and so old, a single human lifetime is but a flicker in its telling. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Now, I invite you to tell me where you are and what time it is, so we can begin this journey together. We start our story in a place you can only imagine. Not a vast empty void, but a warm wet one. It is the primordial soup, a slow churning stew of chemicals and energy, where the first whispers of life began. Picture a tiny simple bubble, not much different from a soap bubble floating through the air. This isn't a life form yet, but it's a container, a fragile boundary separating one small pocket of existence from the vast chaotic world outside. This simple act of enclosure was the first architectural marvel of our story. It created a space where order could emerge from chaos. Inside this bubble, molecules could gather and interact, protected from the constant bombardment of the outside. It was a humble beginning, the first blueprint for every cell that has ever lived. And within these bubbles, a new kind of code began to write itself. A code made of long, twisting strands of molecules, the ancestors of what we now call DNA. Think of DNA as a kind of ancient library. It holds the instructions, the recipes, the entire history of a life form. But unlike a library on a bookshelf, this one is alive. It can make copies of itself, passing on its stories to the next generation. The first organisms weren't much more than this, a simple container holding a growing, self-replicating library. Yet even this simple library had a profound and beautiful limitation. When it copied itself, it sometimes made a mistake. A letter would be swapped, a word would be misspelled, a sentence would be slightly different from the original. This, my friends, is where the magic begins. This is the simple, powerful engine of evolution. Mutation. These tiny accidental changes weren't always good. Most of the time they were meaningless or even harmful. A cell with a flaw in its code might not be able to survive as well, and its lineage would simply fade away. But every once in a while, a mutation would be a happy accident. It would grant a small, subtle advantage, perhaps a slightly more resilient membrane, or a more efficient way to harness energy. That tiny improved cell would thrive just a little bit better, leaving behind a few more copies of itself. And those copies in turn would carry that beneficial mutation, and perhaps, over countless generations, accumulate new ones. This process, the slow, relentless filtering of random changes, is what we call natural selection. It is not a conscious force, not an intelligent designer. It is simply the quiet, methodical work of survival. The ocean doesn't care which bubble survives. It simply lets the tide of chance decide. This ancient microscopic struggle, happening across billions of years and unimaginable numbers of tiny organisms, is the very foundation of who we are. Every cell in your body right now, a skin cell, a neuron, a blood cell, is a direct descendant of those first fragile bubbles in the primordial sea. They carry within them the echoes of that first blueprint, and they still face the same fundamental challenge: maintaining order in a universe that trends towards chaos. Our bodies are constantly performing a delicate balancing act, a struggle against the entropy that wants to break us down. This is why we need to eat, why we need to breathe, why we need to rest. We are fighting a slow, beautiful, and ultimately losing battle against the universe itself. But that fight is what makes us so astonishingly complex. Think of a single bacterium. It has no brain, no eyes, no heart. It is just a tiny living library following its ancient instructions. But over time, some of these bacteria started to cooperate. Instead of competing, they began to work together, forming colonies. And then, eventually, something even more profound happened. One simple cell engulfed another. It didn't digest it. It kept it alive. And over time, this relationship became permanent. The larger cell provided a safe home, and the smaller cell, now an organelle within it, specialized in a particular task. This is the story of our mitochondria, the little power plants inside almost every one of your cells. They were once free-living bacteria, and they still carry their own small, separate ring of DNA, a secret diary of their past life. This is one of those wonderfully strange, little-known facts about our bodies. We are, on a cellular level, a collection of tiny domesticated organisms working in harmony. This raises an interesting question. How does something so profound as cooperation, which seems to require a certain degree of awareness, emerge from the blind mechanics of natural selection? The truth is, we don't really know for sure. But we can see its results all around us. The single-celled organisms became colonies. The colonies became multicellular life. And the multicellular life became you. We are, in essence, a community of trillions of tiny ancient beings, each performing a simple, specific task to keep the whole city humming. We are a walking, talking history book, with every bone, every muscle, and every organ telling a part of a story that began in a warm, watery world. A story that is still being written, every single day inside of you. We stand as a testament to the incredible patience of time. The simple life forms that were born from those first bubbles had no grand plan, no vision of the future. They were simply trying to survive, to pass on their instructions. Yet, through this simple act, they began to build something complex beyond imagining. As the millennia passed, these simple cooperative colonies began to differentiate. Some cells specialized in movement, others in sensation, still others in capturing energy. This specialization was the key to unlocking new levels of complexity. A single cell can only do so much. But a team of cells, each a master of its own task, can build a world. Think of it like a group of artisans. One works with clay, another with wood, a third with metal. Together they can build a magnificent house. In our bodies, some cells are architects, building the structures of our organs. Others are laborers, transporting materials. Still others are communicators, sending messages from one part of the body to another. This division of labor, this elegant system of cooperation, is what allowed the first multicellular organisms to emerge from the seafloor. And what a strange, silent world it was. Filled with soft, pulsing creatures, with simple bodies that lacked the hard shells and skeletons we associate with life today. The evolution of a rigid structure was another revolutionary step. Imagine an organism, perhaps not much more than a soft, jelly-like sac, floating through the water. It can absorb nutrients, it can reproduce, but it has no defense against being crushed or torn apart. One day, through a happy accident of mutation, a gene arises that allows the creature to secrete a hard, mineral-based substance. Perhaps it's a shell or a simple internal rod. Suddenly, this organism has a new kind of freedom. It can resist forces, it can move with purpose, and it can grow larger without collapsing under its own weight. This simple innovation would lead to the glorious diversity of life we see in the fossil record. The story of the vertebrate spine is one of the greatest examples of this. It began as a simple, flexible rod in a tiny fish-like creature. It provided just enough rigidity to allow for powerful directional swimming. But over millions of years, as these creatures explored new niches, that simple rod was refined, hardened, and segmented into the intricate series of bones we now call the backbone. It is a structure so fundamental to our existence that we often forget it is an ancient piece of technology, perfected by time and pressure. It is what allows you to sit upright, to walk, to run. It is the core architectural support for your entire body, and it all began as a humble internal spine. in a creature that lived in a world without us. This slow, persistent work of evolution is the ultimate act of poetry. It takes a simple phrase and repeats it, with tiny variations until it becomes an epic. It takes the same basic elements, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and arranges them into a million different forms, each with its own purpose, its own song. We are a part of that song, a complex and resonant verse in an ongoing epic. When you look in the mirror, you are not just seeing a reflection of yourself. You are seeing the culmination of a 4 billion-year-old journey. You are seeing the echo of a primordial bubble, the shadow of a simple fish, and the ghost of a creature that dared to stand on two legs. The mystery is not how we came to be, but how something so complex and beautiful could have been built from such simple, patient beginnings. We left our story with the simple, elegant invention of a backbone. That flexible rod, that first whisper of a skeleton, was the key that unlocked a new kind of existence. Before it, life in the sea was a soft, undulating dance of invertebrates. They moved with the currents, or slithered along the ocean floor, propelled by muscles alone. But with that internal scaffolding, a new kind of animal could emerge, one with a strong central axis from which everything else could be built. This was the birth of the vertebrates, our ancient kin. And with this new structure came a new set of challenges and opportunities, the greatest of which was the chance to grow larger, to move with a power and purpose previously unimaginable. Imagine our ancient ancestor, a small jawless fish, scuttling through the primordial ocean. It's not much to look at. A simple mouth, a row of gill slits, and that newly developed spine. It is a creature of the water, through and through. Its world is liquid, and its body is built for that world. But as time flowed on and the continents shifted, this liquid world began to change. Water levels receded, and the landscape became a patchwork of shallow pools and stagnant lakes. For a creature dependent on the free-flowing ocean, this was a disaster. It was a new kind of pressure, a new kind of struggle for survival. And as we have learned, pressure is the forge of evolution. In these challenging new environments, a small subtle change would prove to be a profound turning point. Some of these fish developed a rudimentary lung, a small sac-like organ that could pull oxygen from the air, in addition to the gills that filtered it from the water. This wasn't a perfect system, not at first. The gills were still the main source of oxygen. But in a stagnant pool, where the water was thick with mud and low on dissolved oxygen, that small supplemental breath of air could make all the difference. It was a lifeline. Over countless generations, this simple breathing sac would be refined and specialized, evolving into the complex branching architecture of the lungs you are using to breathe right now. But a lung is of no use if you're stranded in a puddle. The next great challenge was mobility. How do you move from one dwindling pool to the next in search of food and safety? Our fish ancestor already had fins, of course. But they were simple, delicate things, designed for maneuvering in the water. Slowly, over millions of years, the bones and muscles within these fins began to grow and change. The single strong bone at the base of the fin, the humerus in our terms, became stronger, the joints more articulated. The delicate web of fin rays became more robust, able to bear the weight of the body. This slow, patient transformation is a testament to the fact that evolution doesn't build from scratch. It repurposes what is already there. It is a brilliant tinkerer, taking an old tool and making it a new one. The humble fin was becoming a limb. This transformation wasn't a single dramatic event. It was a slow, awkward process. Imagine a creature that is neither a fish nor a salamander, but something in between. It has gills but can gulp air. It has fins but can push itself through the mud on the bottom of the lake. It is clunky, inefficient, and perfectly adapted to a world that no longer exists. But it was an essential step. We see echoes of this in the fascinating, little-known world of modern lungfish, a group of fish that can breathe air and survive for long periods buried in the mud during droughts. They are living fossils, a gentle reminder of our own journey. The move from water to land required a complete re-engineering of the body. The skeleton, which was supported by the buoyancy of the water, now had to bear the full weight of the creature against the relentless pull of gravity. Bones became stronger, denser. The spine developed curves to act as a spring and a shock absorber. The pectoral and pelvic girdles, the structures that attach the limbs to the body, became more robust. The very architecture of our hips and shoulders, those beautiful complex joints that give us so much freedom of movement, are a direct inheritance from that time. The sensory organs also had to adapt. Sound travels differently in air than in water. To hear on land, our ancestors developed a new kind of ear, with a small specialized bone, the stirrup, to amplify the vibrations of the air. Our eyes, which once had to contend with the distortion of water, now had to focus light cleanly in a less dense medium. The tear ducts, those small, often ignored parts of our anatomy, developed to keep our eyes moist and clean in the open air. This is a subtle but profound example of evolutionary adaptation. So many of the little systems we never think about are there because they were essential for survival in a new and hostile world. This gradual, relentless march onto land wasn't about becoming better or more advanced. It was about finding new ways to survive. The creatures that succeeded weren't the strongest or the fastest, but the ones whose bodies were most beautifully suited to the new reality. They were the ones with the luckiest genetic typos. This raises a quiet philosophical question that science can't answer. Was there an inevitability to this journey? Were we, in some sense, always destined to crawl onto land and stand upright? Or was our entire existence a beautiful accident, a chain of events so improbable it could only have happened once? We carry the traces of that great migration in our bodies. Every time you hold your breath, you are remembering a time when a simple sack of air was a matter of life and death. Every time you walk, you are reenacting the first clumsy, determined steps of a creature leaving the water behind. We are living proof that the past is never truly gone. It is woven into the very fabric of our flesh and bone, a soft echo of the primordial sea. The story continues with the great leap of faith, the moment a creature truly committed to life on land. This meant not just a change in limbs and lungs, but a complete overhaul of the body's internal systems. The circulatory system, for instance, had to be redesigned. In the water, blood pressure was less of an issue, as the surrounding water helped support the body. On land, the heart had to work harder against gravity to pump blood to the brain and other extremities. This led to the development of a more powerful, four-chambered heart in later land animals, a marvel of biological engineering that ensures every cell gets the oxygen and nutrients it needs, even when fighting against the pull of the earth. And what about digestion? Our aquatic ancestors feasted on whatever was available in the water, from tiny algae to other sea creatures. Their digestive systems were relatively simple. On land, the menu changed dramatically. A new world of plants with tough fibrous leaves and other animals with thick hides and tough muscle required a more robust and complex digestive tract. The stomach developed a stronger acidic environment to break down tougher foods, and the intestines grew longer and more specialized to extract every last bit of nourishment. This is a quiet, continuous process, happening in your own body right now. The acids in your stomach, the enzymes in your gut, are all relics of this ancient culinary arms race. A little-known fact is that some of our gut bacteria, the trillions of tiny organisms that help us digest food, have been a part of our evolutionary journey for millions of years. They are not just hitchhikers. They are co-conspirators in our survival, working with our bodies in a symbiotic relationship that has spanned epochs. The most fascinating part of this terrestrial adaptation, however, is the shift from cold-blooded to warm-blooded. Life in the ocean is relatively stable in temperature. On land, temperatures can swing wildly from day to night, from season to season. The ability to regulate one's own body temperature, to maintain a constant internal environment regardless of the external one, was a huge advantage. This allowed our ancestors to remain active in the cold of night or the cool of winter, to explore new territories, and to outcompete their cold-blooded cousins. This thermoregulation is a complex, energy-intensive process, and it required a more efficient metabolism and a new kind of insulation, hair and fur. That soft, gentle covering on your skin is a direct link to the first warm-blooded creatures who braved the land. It is a biological blanket that allowed our ancestors to push the boundaries of their world. The journey from sea to land was not a single heroic act, but a million tiny, quiet victories. It was a story told in the hardening of a bone, the strengthening of a heart, and the slow, gradual refinement of every single system in the body. It is a story of adaptation, of resilience, and of a relentless, beautiful march forward. We are the inheritors of that march. The very shape of our feet, the way our muscles move, the beating of our heart. They all speak of a time when the world was new, and we were just beginning to learn how to walk upon it. This beautiful, strange truth raises a question. Do we truly appreciate the incredible history held within our own flesh? Every breath we take, every step we make, is a tribute to the long, quiet struggle of our ancestors. The journey from the ocean floor to solid ground was a story of bones. A simple rod became a spine, and fins became limbs. But this new, upright existence, this defiant stand against gravity, created a new set of challenges that had to be met with a new kind of engineering. We are a collection of compromises, and nowhere is this more apparent than in the human skeleton. It is a masterpiece of ancient solutions, but it also bears the scars of its history. Consider the human hand. It is a marvel of dexterity and power, capable of everything from threading a needle to gripping a rock. But it is not a new invention. It is the culmination of a long, branching story, a story that begins in the fins of our fish ancestors. The bones within your hand, the carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges, can all be traced back to the tiny, intricate bones of those first proto-limbs. Evolution, in its infinite creativity, simply repurposed them, making them longer, more articulated, and capable of a wider range of motion. The result is a tool of unparalleled versatility, a direct link to the watery world from which we emerged. The arrangement of our thumb, in particular, is a quiet revolution. Its opposability, the ability to touch the tips of our other fingers, is a unique feature that set us on a different path from our primate relatives. It allowed for the precision grip that would later enable the creation of tools, art, and the written word. It is a subtle but profound evolutionary achievement, and yet, this is not a story of perfection. Our bodies are filled with quirks and oddities that make sense only in the context of our deep past. Take, for instance, our sinuses. These hollow cavities in our skull are prone to infection and are a constant source of trouble for many of us. Why do we have them? One theory is that they are a leftover from a time when our ancestors were quadrupedal. When our heads were closer to the ground, the sinuses may have served a purpose, perhaps to lighten the skull or to resonate sound. Now, with our heads held high, they are an anachronism, a quiet reminder that evolution doesn't always tidy up after itself. It often just builds on top of an old foundation, leaving the strange, forgotten rooms behind. The human skeleton itself is a study in this kind of beautiful, imperfect engineering. The spine, for example, is not a simple straight column. It has curves like a gentle S. This is a direct consequence of our transition to bipedalism. Our four-legged ancestors had a relatively straight spine, a strong bridge between the front and back legs. When we stood up, that bridge became a tower, and to support the weight of our upper body, the spine had to develop new curves to act as a spring and a shock absorber. It is a brilliant, elegant solution, but it also makes us prone to back pain, a common ailment that is a direct consequence of our upright posture. This is a fascinating fact about our bodies. Many of our most common physical problems are not flaws in design, but rather the unavoidable side effects of an ancient evolutionary compromise. Another example of this is the knee. It is a complex and vulnerable joint, subject to a wide range of injuries. This is because the knee is not just a hinge. It is a delicate balancing act, a joint that had to be completely re-engineered to handle the immense pressures of standing and walking on two legs. The ancient knee was a simple pivot, designed for a quadrupedal gait. When we stood up, that simple hinge had to become a sophisticated, weight-bearing joint, and in the process it became more susceptible to injury. It is a trade-off, a beautiful solution with a built-in fragility. The architecture of our feet tells a similar story. The arch of the foot, for instance, is a remarkable structure, a kind of biological spring that helps us walk and run with efficiency. But it is a relatively recent innovation. Our ape-like ancestors had flat feet, designed for grasping and climbing. The arch was a new development, a direct consequence of our commitment to walking. And even now, the foot is a testament to its past. The big toe bone is much larger than the others, a remnant of a time when it was a thumb-like structure used for gripping branches. This echoes a beautiful paradox. The very features that define us are often just repurposed echoes of a past we have long since left behind. The truth is, every bone in your body has a story to tell. The skull, for instance, is not a single bone but a collection of plates that fuse together, a testament to the expansion of our brains. The tailbone, or coccyx, is a silent monument to our tailed ancestors, a useless vestige that reminds us of a time when the tail was a crucial part of our balance and communication. It is a strange, quiet mystery that we carry these relics of our past, these silent memories of what we once were. Scientists still wonder if some of our unconscious reflexive movements are vestigial echoes of those forgotten times, small twitches of a tail we no longer possess. This brings us to a beautiful, philosophical question. If our bodies are just a collection of compromises, built from the parts of ancient creatures, where does the us part come in? Where is the self in all of this? Is the consciousness that is listening to this story just a fortunate accident, a random mutation that happened to build a brain complex enough to observe itself? The truth is, we don't really know. We only know that we are here, and that the story of our bodies is a testament to the profound and beautiful power of time. We are a living library of biological innovation, a walking museum of what has been. But the story of our bones is not just about structure. It's also about a constant conversation with the world around us. Bone is a living tissue, dynamic and ever-changing. It is constantly being broken down and rebuilt in response to the stresses placed upon it. A professional athlete's bones, for instance, are denser and stronger than those of a person with a sedentary lifestyle, a beautiful testament to the body's ability to adapt. This process, known as bone remodeling, is a fascinating and little-known fact. It's a kind of slow, quiet dance, with osteoclasts carving away old bone and osteoblasts building new bone in its place. This is a process that has been happening in our lineage for hundreds of millions of years. An ancient rhythm that keeps our skeleton strong and responsive. It's a silent conversation between our body and the forces of the world. And what about the bones that have vanished entirely? Our ancestors, for example, had a separate, smaller bone in their jaw that is now part of the middle ear. The jaw of a reptile is a complex structure of many bones, while the mammalian jaw is a single powerful bone. The other bones were not lost. They were repurposed, elegantly integrated into a new system for hearing. The stirrup bone we talked about earlier, the malleus and incus bones, they are all descendants of the reptilian jaw. This is a beautiful example of how evolution reuses old parts for new purposes. It is an extraordinary testament to the efficiency of nature. It raises a question about whether we will one day lose parts of our bodies that seem essential now. Will the bones in our feet one day become fused and simplified as we move into a world with less walking and more virtual living? It's a thought that connects our past to a future we can only guess at. Think about the sheer number of bones in a human body at birth. Around 300, many of them soft cartilage. Over time, these bones fuse and harden, until we are left with the 206 bones of the adult skeleton. This process, a kind of elegant simplification, is a microcosm of our evolutionary history. We begin as a collection of separate parts and slowly fuse into a more cohesive, integrated whole. The fusion of the skull plates, for example, is what allows a newborn's head to be compressed during birth. Another beautiful and crucial evolutionary compromise. The skeletal system is a silent chronicle of our journey. The broad bowl-shaped pelvis of a human, for instance, is a direct adaptation for bipedal walking and supporting internal organs in an upright position. The pelvis of a chimpanzee, designed for climbing and four-legged locomotion, is much narrower and flatter. The difference is subtle, but it speaks volumes about our diverging paths. The angle of our femurs, our thigh bones, is another telltale sign. They angle inward from the hips to the knees, allowing our feet to be placed directly under our center of gravity when we walk. A chimpanzee's legs are more parallel, giving them a waddling gait on two legs. These seemingly minor details are the result of millions of years of selective pressure. of one tiny change after another, until a whole new way of moving was born. It is a quiet wonder that the architecture of our bodies contains so many hidden stories. We walk with the ghosts of ancient fish. We use hands that were once part of a climbing ape. And we are supported by a spine that was forged in the fire of gravity's pull. The next time you feel a twinge in your back, or the graceful motion of your hands, I want you to remember that you are not just a person. You are a walking, breathing monument to the incredible ancient story of life on Earth. You are a collection of triumphs and compromises, a quiet echo of the deep, deep past. Our exploration of bones has shown us how the body is built from the outside in, how the external pressures of gravity and locomotion sculpted our inner framework. But there is another story, a more subtle and poetic one, that tells of how we are built from the inside out, the story of our senses. Our perception of the world is not a perfect mirror. It is a creative interpretation, a brilliant act of imagination performed by the brain based on the limited information it receives. It is a world of shadows, whispers, and echoes, and its architecture is a testament to the patient work of evolution. Let's begin with the sense we often take for granted: sight. The human eye is a marvel of engineering, a living camera that captures light and focuses it onto the retina. But it is not a perfect design. The retina, the light-sensitive layer at the back of the eye, is wired backward. The photoreceptor cells, the rods and cones that detect light, are at the very back of the retina, and the nerves that carry the signals from them are in front, obscuring some of the light and creating a biological quirk known as the blind spot. We don't notice the blind spot because our brain cleverly fills in the missing information, a quiet act of magic that happens without our conscious awareness. This isn't a flaw. It's a beautiful example of evolutionary compromise. It is a quiet truth that our brain is an artist, not just a recorder. This raises a profound question. Do we truly see the world as it is? Or are we just perceiving a simplified, filtered version of it, a convenient illusion our brain has created for us? The simple fact is, we only see a tiny sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum. We cannot see the ultraviolet light that guides bees to flowers, or the infrared radiation that allows a pit viper to hunt in the dark. Our world is painted in a limited palette, a palette that was chosen for us by the ancient pressures of survival. The evolution of sight is a long and winding tale. It began with simple light-sensitive patches of cells on the skin of our ancient worm-like ancestors. These patches couldn't form an image. They could only detect the presence or absence of light, a crucial advantage for a creature trying to find its way in a dark world. Over eons, these patches gradually deepened, forming cups and then pinholes, which could form a crude, blurry image. The simple pinhole eye of a nautilus, a living fossil, is a beautiful example of this intermediate stage. Finally, a lens evolved, allowing for sharper, more focused vision. The complexity of our modern eye is the result of a million tiny steps, each one a small improvement on the last. It is a story told in the quiet rustle of genes, a story that has been repeating itself for hundreds of millions of years. And then there is sound. Our sense of hearing is a remarkable machine for translating vibrations in the air into a world of meaning. But like the eye, it is an ancient system that has been repurposed and refined. The three tiny bones in your middle ear, the hammer, anvil, and stirrup, are a perfect example. We touched on them before as being remnants of a reptilian jaw, but let's go a little deeper. When sound waves hit your eardrum, they set these bones into motion, amplifying the vibrations and transmitting them to the inner ear, where they are converted into electrical signals that the brain can understand. A fascinating, little-known fact is that these bones are the smallest in the human body, and they are fully formed at birth. They are a timeless echo, a silent testament to a time when our ancestors' jaws were a little different. The evolution of hearing was a critical step in the journey onto land. In water, sound travels fast and far, but on land, it is different. The air is a less efficient medium for sound, and so our ancestors had to develop more sensitive hearing to detect predators and prey. The intricate folds of our outer ear, those whorls and ridges that are unique to each of us, are not just for show. They are a kind of biological antenna, a complex piece of architecture that helps us pinpoint the source of a sound. Our senses are a kind of deep memory. The way we perceive the world is a direct reflection of the challenges our ancestors faced. The human sense of smell, for example, is not as powerful as that of a dog or a bear. This is because for our early ancestors, who lived in a visual world, sight became a more crucial tool for survival. But we still carry a hidden sense of smell, a silent network of genes and neurons that can trigger powerful memories and emotions. The scent of rain on a hot street, the smell of freshly baked bread. These are not just smells, they are ghosts of the past, quiet echoes that connect us to a deeper, more primal part of ourselves. This raises a quiet philosophical question. If our senses are so limited, if our brain is constantly filling in the blanks and creating a simplified version of reality, how can we ever truly know the world? The truth is, we don't. We only know our own version of it, a world painted in the limited colors of our biology. The reality of a bat, which navigates by sound, or a snake, which sees the world in infrared, is something we can only imagine. This is a humbling and beautiful thought. We are not the masters of a universe we perceive perfectly. We are simply one of many viewers, each with our own unique and limited lens. Our skin is another example of this. It is a marvelous organ, a delicate boundary between our inner world and the outer one. It is a vast network of nerves and receptors, capable of detecting everything from the slightest breeze to the most intense heat. But it is not just a tool for sensation. It is also a living record of our history. The goosebumps on your arms, for instance, are a relic of a time when our ancestors had more hair. The tiny muscles at the base of each hair follicle would contract, making the hair stand on end. A vestigial reflex that once served to make our ancestors look bigger and more intimidating to predators. A little-known fact is that this reflex also helps to trap a layer of warm air close to the skin, a primitive form of thermoregulation. Our senses, then, are not just tools. They are a kind of woven tapestry, with each thread telling a part of a long branching story. The way we see, hear, and feel the world is not an accident. It is a beautiful and imperfect work of art, painted over billions of years by the patient hand of evolution. We have explored the grand architecture of bones and the delicate, deceptive artistry of our senses. But there is a hidden world within us, a vast, complex network that operates in silence, a system that connects every corner of our being to every other. This is the circulatory system, the heart and the vessels, the quiet river of life that flows through us, a testament to our ancient past. Imagine a single-celled organism, our distant ancestor, floating in the primordial sea. It has no need for a circulatory system. Nutrients and oxygen simply diffuse through its membrane, and waste diffuses out. But as life grew larger, as multicellular organisms began to take shape, this simple method was no longer sufficient. The cells deep within the body, far from the surface, would starve for lack of oxygen and nutrients. A new solution was needed, a new kind of plumbing system. And so, a simple fluid-filled cavity began to form. A rudimentary circulatory system that would eventually become the intricate network of veins, arteries, and capillaries that make up your body today. The heart is the engine of this system, a magnificent pump that has been refined over millions of years. But it did not begin as the four-chambered masterpiece it is today. In our fish ancestors, the heart was a simple two-chambered pump. It sent blood to the gills to pick up oxygen and then to the rest of the body. This worked perfectly in water, but as our ancestors made the journey to land, this system became a liability. On land, the lungs replaced the gills, and a new problem arose: how to efficiently oxygenate the blood and then pump it to the rest of the body without mixing oxygen-rich and oxygen-poor blood. The solution was a great evolutionary innovation: a third chamber, and eventually a fourth. The three-chambered heart of amphibians and reptiles was an intermediate step, a beautifully imperfect design that allowed for a partial separation of blood. But it was the four-chambered heart of mammals and birds that truly revolutionized the system, creating a highly efficient, two-circuit pump. One circuit sends deoxygenated blood to the lungs to pick up oxygen, and the other sends oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. This quiet marvel of engineering is what allows us to be warm-blooded, to have the sustained energy needed for our complex lives. This is a beautiful example of how evolution builds on what is already there. It didn't throw out the old heart. It simply added to it, refined it, and created something new. A little-known fact is that the structure of the human heart still carries a faint echo of its past. The ductus arteriosus, a small blood vessel that connects two major arteries in a fetal heart, is a vestigial remnant of the gill arches of our ancient fish ancestors. It normally closes shortly after birth, but in a small percentage of cases, it remains open, a quiet reminder of a time when we were creatures of the sea. And what about the blood itself? The red blood cells that carry oxygen throughout your body are a marvel of specialized design. They are shaped like tiny biconcave discs, a perfect form for traveling through the narrowest capillaries and for maximizing the surface area for oxygen exchange. A fascinating truth is that red blood cells in mammals have no nucleus. This is a deliberate design choice, an evolutionary compromise that allows for more hemoglobin, the molecule that binds to oxygen, to be packed into each cell. But it comes at a price. Without a nucleus, red blood cells cannot repair themselves and must be constantly replaced. This is why our bone marrow is constantly producing new ones, a process that is happening in your body right now. The circulatory system is more than just a pump and pipes. It is a communication network, a delivery service, and a waste disposal system all in one. It carries hormones from the endocrine system, transports immune cells to fight off infections, and removes waste products from every cell in your body. It is a silent, tireless servant, a river that never sleeps. And its rhythm is a quiet echo of the cosmic pulse. This raises an interesting philosophical question. Are our internal rhythms, the beating of our hearts and the flow of our blood, somehow connected to the grand rhythms of the universe? The truth is, we don't know for sure, but the very act of pondering it connects us to something larger than ourselves. Think about the tiny beautiful dance happening in your capillaries right now. These are the smallest blood vessels in the body, so narrow that red blood cells must often travel through them in single file. Here, the magic of the circulatory system truly happens. Oxygen and nutrients pass from the blood into the surrounding tissues, and carbon dioxide and waste products are collected for removal. It is a gentle, continuous exchange, a silent conversation between the blood and the body's cells. And every single cell in your body, from the tip of your nose to the end of your toes, is a part of this conversation. The respiratory system, of course, works hand in hand with the circulatory system. The lungs are a kind of biological bellows, a branching tree of airways that ends in tiny sacs called alveoli. Here, in these delicate sacs, the great exchange takes place. Oxygen from the air we breathe passes into the blood, and carbon dioxide from the blood passes out. This system, too, is a testament to our history. The intricate branching structure of our lungs is a kind of internal tree, a beautiful reminder of the trees we climbed and lived in for so long. The quiet truth is, our lungs and our heart have been working in perfect harmony for millions of years, long before we even knew they existed. The next time you take a deep, slow breath, I want you to feel the air moving through your lungs, to feel your heart beating in your chest. You are not just a person taking a breath. You are an ancient creature, a living, breathing history book. You are a quiet symphony of bone, sinew, and flowing blood, a masterpiece built over eons, one quiet, beautiful compromise at a time. The story of our bodies is not just a scientific one. It is a profound and moving epic, a testament to the incredible, patient power of life. We've charted the grand journey from the sea to the land, tracing the emergence of bones, limbs, and the quiet internal rivers of blood and air. But the story of how our bodies were built is also a story of a silent, continuous conversation with the world. This conversation is not one of words, but of chemistry. It is the story of our digestive system, an ancient and remarkable factory that turns the outside world into our inside world, a process that is as old as life itself. Imagine our earliest single-celled ancestors. Their world was food. They simply absorbed nutrients directly from the primordial soup through their membranes. There was no need for a complex internal system. But as life evolved and became multicellular, as creatures grew larger and more specialized, they needed a more efficient way to break down food and extract energy. The very first digestive systems were little more than a simple sac with a single opening, a kind of stomach mouth that took in food and expelled waste. The digestive tract of a modern jellyfish or sea anemone is a beautiful example of this ancient, simple design. But our lineage took a different path. Our ancestors developed a two-ended tube, a mouth at one end and an anus at the other. This was a revolutionary innovation. It allowed for a more continuous and efficient process of digestion. Food could move in one direction, through a series of specialized chambers, each with a different job to do. This simple tube, which is the basic blueprint for your own gut, is an ancient piece of plumbing that has been refined and perfected over hundreds of millions of years. The human digestive system is a living museum of this history. Our gut is not just a tube, it is a complex and highly specialized factory, a silent and tireless worker. The stomach, with its powerful acids and churning muscles, is a direct descendant of that first simple sac. It is a biological blender designed to break down tough food into a manageable slurry. This is a crucial step that has been refined over eons, allowing our ancestors to eat a wider variety of foods, from the tough fibers of plants to the dense protein of meat. This adaptability was a key to our survival and success. A fascinating, little-known fact about our digestive system is the presence of the appendix. For a long time, scientists considered it a useless vestigial organ, a pointless relic of our past. But recent research suggests it may play a role in the immune system, acting as a kind of safe house for beneficial gut bacteria, allowing them to repopulate the gut after a bout of illness. This re-evaluation of the appendix is a quiet reminder that what we see as a flaw or a leftover may, in fact, have a hidden purpose, a subtle role that we are only just beginning to understand. This raises a quiet, philosophical question. How much of our body's useless baggage is actually serving a function we haven't yet discovered? The truth is, we don't really know. We are still uncovering the secrets of our own anatomy, still piecing together the story of how we came to be. The story of our digestive system is also the story of our relationship with other organisms. We are not alone in our gut. Trillions of bacteria, fungi, and other microorganisms live in our intestines, forming a vibrant and complex ecosystem known as the gut microbiome. These tiny organisms are not just passive residents, they are active partners in our digestion. They help us break down fibrous plant matter that our own enzymes cannot handle, and they produce essential vitamins and other compounds that we cannot make ourselves. This symbiotic relationship is an ancient one, a partnership that has been evolving for millions of years. We are, in a very real sense, a community of organisms, a walking, talking ecosystem. The evolution of our digestive system also tells a story of adaptation to a changing diet. When our ancestors were still primarily herbivores, their intestines were longer and more complex, designed to extract every last bit of energy from tough plant matter. As we began to incorporate meat into our diet, our intestines became shorter and our stomachs more acidic. This change, this shift to a more energy-rich diet, was a profound turning point in our history. It gave our ancestors the surplus energy needed to fuel a rapidly growing brain, a story we will explore in a later section. This process of turning food into fuel is a beautiful, intricate dance of chemistry and biology. Every time you eat, a silent symphony begins in your body. Enzymes break down carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. The small intestine absorbs the nutrients, and the large intestine absorbs water and prepares waste for removal. It is a continuous, quiet process, a testament to the incredible efficiency of the body. A little-known fact is that the human digestive system is so efficient that it can extract up to 95% of the nutrients from the food we eat. This is a kind of biological alchemy, a magical transformation of one thing into another. The very cravings you have for sugar or for salt are quiet echoes of this past. For our ancestors who lived in a world of scarcity, a craving for high-energy foods was a powerful survival mechanism. The taste of sugar was a signal that a food was rich in energy, and the taste for salt was a signal that it contained essential minerals. These are not just modern cravings, they are ancient biological instincts, a direct link to a time when every meal was a matter of life and death. The story of our digestive system is not just a scientific one. It is a profound and moving epic, a testament to the incredible patient power of life. We are a living, breathing factory, a collection of ancient solutions to ancient problems, a silent and tireless worker that keeps the city of our body humming. The next time you sit down to eat, I want you to remember that you are not just nourishing yourself. You are participating in a process that has been happening for billions of years, a process that has shaped every living thing on this planet. We have followed the journey from the microscopic to the macroscopic, from the birth of bones to the intricate workings of the digestive system. But there is one final, and perhaps most profound, evolutionary story to tell within this silent museum of our bodies. It is the story of our nervous system, the architecture of thought, feeling, and consciousness. This is a story that begins not with a whisper, but with a silent impulse, a simple signal that would one day give rise to the complexity of the human mind. The first nervous systems were not brains at all. They were simple nerve nets, loose decentralized webs of neurons spread throughout the body of a creature like a jellyfish. There was no central command center, no brain. An impulse, a touch, or a chemical signal would simply ripple through the entire net, causing the whole body to contract in response. It was a simple, elegant solution for a simple, elegant creature. This is a crucial concept to grasp. The nervous system didn't begin as a master control. It began as a distributed network, a way for different parts of a body to communicate with one another. But as life grew more complex, as creatures developed heads and tails and front and back, a centralized nervous system became a powerful advantage. The cells that were at the front of a moving creature, the ones that first encountered food or danger, began to specialize. They became more sensitive, and they began to clump together, forming a kind of primitive brain, a small cluster of neurons that could process information more quickly. The first ganglia, or clusters of nerve cells, were not much more than this. They were a kind of local information hub, a place where signals could be sorted and prioritized. This was the first hint of a true central nervous system. From these humble beginnings, a beautiful and dramatic story unfolded. The ganglia began to grow, to fold, to become more complex. The nerve net, once a decentralized web, began to centralize, with a single powerful command center at the head of the body. This quiet revolutionary process, happening over hundreds of millions of years, is what we call the cephalization of the nervous system. The Cambrian explosion, a period of rapid evolutionary diversification, was, in a sense, a brain explosion. As creatures developed more complex bodies, they needed more complex nervous systems to control them, and so the race was on. The human brain is the culmination of this story. It is not a single unified organ, but a layered structure, a kind of living history book, with each layer representing a different stage of our evolutionary past. The oldest and most fundamental part is the brainstem, which is in charge of basic life-sustaining functions like breathing, heart rate, and sleep. This is our reptile brain, a quiet echo of a time when our ancestors were small, cold-blooded creatures, concerned only with survival. This raises a fascinating and little-known fact about our anatomy. The brainstem is a direct descendant of the rudimentary brains of our earliest vertebrate ancestors. It is a silent monument to our past. Above the brainstem sits the limbic system, a collection of structures that govern our emotions, memory, and motivation. This is our mammal brain, the part that allows us to form social bonds, to nurture our young, and to experience the complex emotions that color our lives. It is a more recent addition to the brain's architecture, a direct consequence of the rise of mammals and their need for more complex social interactions. The hippocampus, which is essential for memory formation, is a key part of this system. It is a beautiful irony that our ability to remember the past is governed by a part of the brain that is itself a product of the deep past. Finally, crowning this ancient structure is the neocortex, the largest and most recently evolved part of our brain. This is the part that makes us uniquely human. It is responsible for language, abstract thought, consciousness, and the ability to imagine and plan for the future. The neocortex is not a new invention. It is a massive expansion of a simpler structure found in earlier mammals. But in humans, it is so large and so intricately folded that it allows for a level of complexity that is, as far as we know, unique in the animal kingdom. This is a quiet, profound truth. The thoughts and feelings that make you, you, are all happening in the very newest part of your brain. The part that is still, in a sense, under construction. This layered structure of the brain leads to some interesting and sometimes bizarre quirks. Have you ever felt an irrational fear? A sense of dread that you can't quite explain? This is your reptile brain, the ancient survival mechanism, kicking in, a silent echo of a time when the world was a much more dangerous place. The amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure in the limbic system, is the alarm system of the brain, constantly scanning the environment for threats. It can trigger a fight or flight response before the neocortex has even had a chance to process what is happening. This is a beautiful and strange fact. The irrational primal parts of our minds are not flaws. They are ancient pieces of software, still running in the background. The sheer complexity of the human brain raises a profound and still unanswered question. What is consciousness? Is it simply an emergent property of billions of neurons firing in a coordinated symphony? Is it a kind of illusion? A story the brain tells itself to make sense of the world? The truth is, we don't know for sure. It is the greatest mystery of all, a question that the human brain, in its endless quest for understanding, is still trying to answer. The brain is the instrument that can ponder its own existence, a quiet and elegant paradox. We have journeyed into the layered architecture of the brain, a living monument to our evolutionary history. But the brain is not just a collection of ancient structures. It is a grand theater, where the senses perform a constant, mesmerizing show. Tonight we will go deeper into this theater, to the backstage world where light and shadow become a story. The story of vision, not just as a physical process, but as a creative act of the mind. Our eyes are incredible instruments. They are the stage for this performance, capturing light and translating it into a stream of electrical impulses. But the true magic happens in the visual cortex, a part of the brain located in the back of your head. This is the audience, the director, and the storyteller all in one. It takes the raw, chaotic data from your eyes and weaves it into the coherent, three-dimensional world you experience. It adds color, depth, and motion, filling in the gaps and making sense of the chaos. A little-known fact is that your brain doesn't actually receive a crisp, clear image from your eyes. The image is upside down and distorted, and the visual cortex has to flip it, correct it, and fill in the details. This is an ongoing, unconscious act of brilliance. Think of it like this. Your eyes are a projector, and your visual cortex is the screen. But the projector is a little broken, it's a bit blurry, it has a blind spot, and it's constantly shaking. But the screen is a genius. It not only corrects the image, but it adds a narrative to it. It tells you that the blurry shape in the distance is a tree, not just a collection of colors. It tells you that the flickering light is a fire, not just a change in brightness. It is an artist, not a scientist. It doesn't just record reality, it creates it. This is a profound truth about our perception. Our brain is a prediction machine. It is constantly making educated guesses about the world based on past experiences. When you see a chair, your brain doesn't have to analyze every line and every shadow to identify it. It recognizes the shape, the color, and the context, and it instantly says, "That's a chair." This is an evolutionary shortcut, a way to make quick, life-saving decisions without having to process every bit of information. But it also means that our perception is not always accurate. We see what we expect to see, a bias that is woven into the very fabric of our being. Our relationship with light is an ancient one. For our earliest ancestors, who lived in a world of predators and prey, the ability to detect movement and shapes was a matter of life and death. The development of color vision, which is a more recent innovation in our lineage, was a crucial step. It allowed us to distinguish ripe fruit from unripe, a crucial advantage for a species that was beginning to rely on foraging for food. The human eye has 3 types of cones, specialized cells that are sensitive to red, green, and blue light. This allows us to see the world in a rich, vibrant tapestry of colors. But some animals, like certain birds, have 4 or 5 types of cones and can see colors we can only imagine. This raises a quiet, philosophical question. What does the world look like to them? Are they experiencing a richer, more vibrant reality than we are? The truth is, we don't know for sure, and we may never know. The visual cortex is also deeply involved in a part of our lives that is still shrouded in mystery: dreams. When you are asleep and dreaming, your eyes are often moving rapidly, a phenomenon known as REM sleep. But you are not seeing the external world. You are seeing a world created by your own mind, a world of memories, emotions, and imagination. Your visual cortex is still active, still playing its role as a storyteller. But this time, it is working with internal data, not external. This is a beautiful, eerie thought. The same part of your brain that creates the world you see when you are awake also creates the worlds you see when you are asleep. It is a private theater, a personal show that is happening inside your mind, a quiet and profound mystery that scientists are still trying to unravel. This deep connection between our external and internal world, between the waking reality and the dream state, is a testament to the incredible flexibility of the brain. The same neural pathways that process external light are also used to process internal imagery. This is a beautiful example of how evolution repurposes old structures for new and surprising functions. The parts of our brain that were once used to hunt and to gather are now used to create art, to imagine futures, and to conjure up entire worlds in our sleep. The story of our eyes and our visual cortex is a story of a long, patient collaboration between the outside world and our inside world. It is a story of a brain that doesn't just receive information, but actively creates reality. The next time you close your eyes and drift into sleep, I want you to remember that your mind is not just resting. It is building a new world, a personal theater of light and shadow, and you are the star, the audience, and the director, all at once. It is a quiet, beautiful, and profound mystery that is happening inside you every single night. We have explored the grand theater of the mind, where our visual cortex turns light into a living story. But there is another more subtle and pervasive show happening within us, a symphony of chemistry and time. This is the story of the endocrine system, a silent orchestra of hormones that regulates everything from our growth to our emotions. A system that acts as a timeless clock, keeping the rhythms of our bodies in tune with the rhythms of the world. Imagine our ancient ancestors living in a world of scarcity and danger. Their bodies needed a way to respond quickly and efficiently to threats. The nervous system, with its fast-firing neurons, was perfect for this. But what about long-term processes like growth, reproduction, or the slow burn of stress? For these, a slower, more deliberate system was needed. And so, the endocrine system evolved. A network of glands that secrete chemical messengers, hormones, directly into the bloodstream. These hormones travel through the body, acting on specific cells and organs, a kind of biological whisper that carries a powerful message. The endocrine system is a beautiful example of evolutionary efficiency. A single hormone released in a tiny amount can have a profound effect on the entire body. Think of adrenaline, the hormone that is released when you are in danger. It speeds up your heart rate, dilates your pupils, and sends blood to your muscles, preparing you for a fight or flight response. This is an ancient, hardwired system, a direct link to a time when our ancestors had to outrun predators or fight for their lives. This system is a quiet truth. The feeling of fear and excitement are not just emotions. They are physical, biological responses, and they are as old as we are. This ancient wisdom of the endocrine system is also responsible for some of the most profound and mysterious parts of our lives. The feeling of love and connection, for example, is deeply intertwined with the release of oxytocin, often called the love hormone. It is released during social bonding, from the quiet moments of a parent holding a child to the shared laughter with a friend. This is a fascinating and little-known fact. The very things that make us human, our capacity for empathy and connection, are rooted in an ancient chemical system that evolved to help our ancestors form social groups and care for their young. It is a beautiful irony that a system designed for survival also gave us the capacity for love. The endocrine system is a kind of biological clock, a quiet metronome that keeps the rhythm of our lives. It regulates our circadian rhythms, the internal clock that governs our sleep-wake cycle. The hormone melatonin, for instance, is released by the pineal gland in response to darkness, signaling to our bodies that it is time to sleep. This is an ancient rhythm, a quiet echo of a time when our ancestors lived their lives in tune with the rising and setting of the sun. But in our modern world of artificial light and constant stimulation, this rhythm is often disrupted, leading to a kind of quiet disconnect between our bodies and our environment. This raises an interesting question. In our quest for constant connection, are we losing touch with the ancient biological rhythms that have governed our lives for millions of years. The human body is a masterpiece of intricate interwoven systems. The endocrine system doesn't operate in a vacuum. It is in a constant dialogue with the nervous system, a kind of call and response between the fast-acting signals of the nerves and the slow-burning messages of the hormones. A stimulus, a sight or a sound, can trigger a quick neural response, which in turn can trigger a cascade of hormonal changes. This is a beautiful and complex dance, a quiet symphony that is happening inside you right now. Our journey through the endocrine system also brings us to the quiet mystery of growth and development. The hormones that guide a child's growth into adulthood, the changes that define puberty, are all orchestrated by this silent orchestra. The transformation from a child to an adult is not just a physical one, it is a chemical one, a profound and elegant process that has been happening in our lineage for millions of years. The delicate balance of these hormones and the tiny mistakes that can happen along the way are a quiet reminder of the incredible complexity of this system. This brings us to a beautiful philosophical question. If our emotions and our behaviors are so deeply tied to the release of hormones, are we truly in control of ourselves? Are our feelings and our actions simply the result of a biological machine, or is there something more? The truth is, we don't really know. We only know that the ancient chemical whispers within us are a powerful part of who we are, a quiet and beautiful force that has guided our journey from simple life forms to the complex emotional beings we are today. The next time you feel a surge of emotion, a pang of fear, or a wave of love, I want you to remember that you are not just a person feeling a feeling. You are a living testament to an ancient chemical symphony, a beautiful and powerful force that is as old as time itself. Our journey through the body has taken us from the vast architecture of bone to the quiet chemical whispers of hormones. Now, we turn our attention to one of the most remarkable and defining features of our lineage, the hand. It is a tool of unparalleled versatility, a graceful, intricate structure that has shaped our world and our destiny. But it is not a new invention, it is an ancient tool, repurposed and refined over millions of years, a living testament to the patient power of evolution. The story of the hand begins, as so many of our stories do, in the water. The first vertebrates, our fish ancestors, had fins, simple structures of bone and cartilage that were used for steering and propulsion. But as these creatures began to explore the shallow waters and muddy shores, their fins began to change. The bones within them became stronger, the joints more flexible, and the delicate rays of cartilage were replaced with more robust, articulated digits. This slow, patient transformation, a kind of biological tinkerer at work, was the first step towards a modern hand. The human hand is a direct descendant of the fins of those ancient fish. But the real revolution came when our ancestors left the water for good and began to climb trees. The challenges of life in the canopy were immense. They needed a way to grasp branches, to swing from limb to limb, to move with agility and precision. The simple proto-hand of our amphibian ancestors was not enough. Over millions of years, the hand evolved, with the bones in the palm becoming more flexible, and the fingers growing longer and more nimble. This was a crucial stage in our story. The hand, which had once been a tool for locomotion, was now becoming a tool for grasping and manipulation. The most profound change, however, was the evolution of the opposable thumb. While many primates have an opposable thumb, the human thumb is unique. It is longer, stronger, and more flexible, capable of touching the tip of every other finger. This simple anatomical feature, a tiny change in the angle of a few bones, was a world-changing event. It allowed for a precision grip that no other animal could match. It enabled our ancestors to hold and manipulate tools with incredible dexterity. A fascinating, little-known fact is that the bones in your thumb, in their size and articulation, are a quiet testament to the first moment an early hominid picked up a stone and used it to chip another stone. That act, a simple act of tool-making, was the beginning of our journey to civilization. The evolution of the hand also had a profound impact on the brain. The parts of the brain that control the hands, the motor and sensory cortices, are a testament to the importance of this tool. They are disproportionately large, a kind of internal map where the hands are given a huge amount of neural real estate. This is a beautiful truth. The hands are not just a part of the body, they are a direct extension of the brain, a way for our thoughts to interact with the world. A pianist's hands, a sculptor's hands, a surgeon's hands. They are not just tools, they are instruments of the mind. This raises an interesting question. Is the human hand a perfect tool? The truth is, it is not. It is prone to injury, and the same dexterity that allows us to play a violin also makes us susceptible to carpal tunnel syndrome and other ailments. Like the spine and the knee, the hand is a product of compromise. It is a beautiful, imperfect machine, a living record of the twists and turns of our evolutionary path. It is a quiet truth that our very existence is built on the foundation of a tool that is both a marvel and a monument to its own fragility. But the hand is more than just a tool. It is also a form of communication. We use our hands to express emotions, to tell stories, to comfort others. The handshake, the high five, the gentle touch of a hand on a shoulder. These are all forms of communication that transcend language. They are a quiet physical conversation that is as old as our species. The hands are a part of our shared humanity, a way for us to connect with each other on a deeper, more primal level. The story of the hand is a story of a silent partnership between the body and the mind. It is a story of a tool that was forged over millions of years, not in a fire but in the patient crucible of time and pressure. The hand is a beautiful and elegant solution to a problem that was once a matter of life and death. And it is a testament to the power of a single small change. The next time you use your hands, whether to write, to create, or to simply hold the hand of another, I want you to remember that you are not just a person using a tool. You are a living monument to an ancient journey, a quiet and profound epic that is still being written, one gentle touch at a time. The hands are a silent whisper from the past and a powerful promise of the future. We have spent our time exploring the body as a museum of the past, a collection of ancient compromises and triumphs. But the story of our bodies is not just about what we carry from our ancestors. It is also about a moment of profound change, a defining moment that set us on a new and extraordinary path. This is the story of bipedalism, the decision to stand up and walk on two legs, a choice that remade our skeleton, our brain, and our entire relationship with the world. Imagine our distant, ape-like ancestors, living in a world of forests and canopies. They were perfectly adapted to a life of climbing and swinging, with long arms, grasping feet, and a spine that was designed for quadrupedal motion. But as the climate changed and the forest gave way to open grasslands, these creatures faced a new challenge. They had to leave the safety of the trees and cross wide, open spaces in search of food and shelter. This new world, with its tall grasses and lurking predators, demanded a new way of moving. The quiet, beautiful, and utterly improbable solution was to stand up. This wasn't a sudden event. It was a slow, awkward process that happened over millions of years. The first hominids to walk on two legs, like the famous Lucy, were still at home in the trees, but they had begun to master a new kind of locomotion. It was a kind of shuffling, a wobbling gait that was a far cry from the graceful stride of a modern human. But it was a start. And it changed everything. The decision to stand up came with a host of new challenges. The skeleton, which was designed for horizontal motion, now had to support the entire weight of the body on two legs. The spine, as we've discussed, had to develop a new set of curves to act as a spring and a shock absorber. The pelvis had to become wider and shorter, a kind of biological bowl that could support our internal organs. The feet, which were once grasping tools, had to evolve into powerful, arched structures that could propel us forward. The arch of the foot, a beautiful and complex piece of engineering, is a direct result of this commitment to walking. A little-known fact is that this arch acts as a spring, storing and releasing energy with every step, making our gait incredibly efficient. But the most profound consequence of bipedalism was the freeing of our hands. With our hands no longer needed for walking, they were free to do other things, to carry food, to hold tools, to gesture and communicate. This was a crucial turning point. It was the moment that the hand became the tool of the brain, the moment that we began to shape our world instead of just reacting to it. The ability to carry food, in particular, was a game changer. It allowed our ancestors to bring food back to a central location, a crucial step in the development of a social structure and the birth of the family unit. The story of bipedalism is also a story of trade-offs. While it gave us a new way to move, it also created a new set of vulnerabilities. Our upright posture makes us prone to back pain, and our knees and feet, which bear the full weight of our bodies, are susceptible to injury. And for women, the wider pelvis that was needed for walking created a new and difficult challenge: childbirth. The birth canal, which had to be widened to accommodate an ever-growing brain, was still too narrow for a newborn. This led to a kind of evolutionary compromise, a brilliant and difficult solution. Human babies are born at an earlier, more vulnerable stage of development than other primates. They are born with a soft skull and a brain that is still in its infancy, a quiet reminder that our journey is not yet over. This beautiful and imperfect solution to the problem of childbirth has had a profound impact on our society. It means that human babies are more dependent on their parents for a longer period of time, a reality that has led to a stronger family bond and a more complex social structure. It has also led to a more extended period of learning and development, which has given us the time to acquire the knowledge and skills needed for a complex world. The quiet truth is, our journey from a quadrupedal ape to a bipedal human was not a straight line. It was a winding path filled with twists and turns, with a million tiny compromises along the way. But it was a journey that changed us forever. It gave us a higher perspective, the ability to see over the tall grasses and to see the world in a new way. It gave us hands that could build and create, and it gave us a brain that could imagine a future. This raises a quiet philosophical question. Did bipedalism lead to the expansion of our brains, or did a growing brain demand that we stand up? The truth is, we don't know for sure. It is a classic chicken and egg question, a mystery that is still being debated. But we can see the results all around us. The way we walk, the way we stand, the way we hold our heads, they all tell a story of an ancient, beautiful, and difficult journey. We are a living testament to a choice that was made millions of years ago. A choice that set us on a path to a new and extraordinary kind of existence. Our journey of bipedalism has shown us how the body adapted to a new, upright way of life. But the decision to stand up didn't just change our bones. It also set the stage for one of the most remarkable and mysterious phenomena in the universe: consciousness. The emergence of a mind that can reflect on itself, ponder its own existence, and ask questions about the nature of reality is perhaps the ultimate evolutionary triumph. The human brain, as we've discussed, is a layered structure, a kind of living history book. The most recent and most complex part, the neocortex, is what allows for this aha moment of self-awareness. But how did this happen? How did a collection of billions of neurons, firing and connecting, give rise to the subjective inner world that each of us experiences? The truth is, we don't know for sure. It is the greatest scientific and philosophical mystery of our time. But we can look at the quiet evolutionary steps that made it possible. One theory is that consciousness is an emergent property. Think of it like a murmuration of starlings. A single starling doesn't know the grand pattern that the flock is making. It only knows a few simple rules. Stay close to your neighbor, don't bump into them, and match their speed. But from these simple rules, a complex and beautiful pattern emerges. In the same way, consciousness may not be a property of a single neuron or a single part of the brain. It may be a property of the whole system, a complex pattern that emerges from the coordinated firing of billions of neurons. It is a beautiful and humbling thought. The very thing that makes us, may be no more than a dance of electrical impulses. Another theory is that consciousness evolved as a tool for social interaction. As our ancestors became more social, as they began to form larger and more complex groups, they needed a way to understand the intentions and emotions of others. The ability to imagine another person's point of view, to empathize, to lie, and to detect lies, would have been a powerful advantage. This ability, this kind of theory of mind, may have been a crucial step towards self-awareness. To understand others, we first had to understand ourselves. This is a quiet, powerful truth. The very thing that connects us to others may also be the very thing that makes us feel so alone. The emergence of consciousness is not just a scientific question, it is a philosophical one. What is the difference between a creature that is simply alive and a creature that is aware of being alive? A tree is alive, it grows and reproduces, but we don't believe it is conscious. A dog is alive, it feels joy and fear, but is it aware of its own existence in the same way we are? The question of where the line is drawn, where simple awareness ends and true consciousness begins, is a mystery that scientists and philosophers are still debating. It is a beautiful, open-ended question that reminds us of the limits of our knowledge. A little known and fascinating fact about consciousness is that it can be a kind of illusion. Have you ever felt that a decision you made was a conscious choice, only to find out later that your brain had already made the decision before you were even aware of it? Scientists have conducted experiments that show a small electrical signal in the brain, a kind of readiness potential, that precedes a conscious decision to act by up to a full second. This suggests that the feeling of free will, the feeling that we are the conscious authors of our own actions, may be a kind of after-the-fact narrative that the brain creates for us. It is a strange and unsettling idea, but it is one that is supported by a growing body of evidence. The human brain is a paradox. It is a 3-pound organ of flesh and blood, a collection of ancient structures and new innovations, and yet, it is the only thing we know of in the universe that is capable of pondering its own existence. It is the instrument that can ask, why? It is a quiet truth that our consciousness is both the ultimate evolutionary triumph and the ultimate mystery. It is a living, breathing paradox, a testament to the fact that we are a part of the universe that is trying to understand itself. This raises a quiet philosophical question. If our consciousness is just an emergent property of our brains, if our feeling of free will is just an illusion, then what is the point of it all? Is there a purpose to this grand cosmic experiment? The truth is, we don't know for sure. But the very act of asking the question, the very act of trying to understand, is perhaps the most profound and meaningful thing we can do. We are a living testament to a process that is still unfolding, a quiet and beautiful epic that is still being written. And we are the only ones who can truly appreciate its beauty. Our exploration of consciousness has left us with a beautiful paradox, a physical machine that can ask why. But if the brain is the stage for our inner world, what about the echoes from our past that still reverberate within us? This is the story of genetic memory, the quiet biological whispers of our ancestors that are still a part of who we are. It is a story that bridges the gap between our individual lives and the vast shared history of our species. Imagine a small early hominid, living in a world of tall grasses and lurking predators. The fear of snakes would have been a powerful survival tool. A creature that instinctively recoiled from the sight of a snake would have been more likely to survive and reproduce. Over millions of years, this simple survival-based reflex would have become hardwired into our genes. This is not a conscious memory, not a story we tell ourselves. It is a deep primal instinct, a kind of inherited fear that is passed down from one generation to the next. A little-known fact is that humans and other primates have a hardwired tendency to learn to fear snakes and spiders more easily than other stimuli, a silent testament to a time when those fears were a matter of life and death. This idea of genetic memory is a fascinating and still unsolved mystery. We know that our bodies contain the blueprints for our physical form, the instructions for our bones and our brains. But do they also contain the blueprints for our behavior? Do we carry the ghosts of our ancestors' struggles and triumphs in our very DNA? The truth is, we don't know for sure. It is a question that raises a profound philosophical dilemma. Are we truly free to be who we are? Or are we just following an ancient script that was written for us millions of years ago? Think about the feeling of social anxiety, for example. For our ancestors who lived in small, tightly knit groups, social exclusion would have been a death sentence. To be ostracized from the group was to be left to fend for oneself against predators and the elements. This ancient fear of being left alone, this primal need for social connection, may be a quiet echo that still reverberates within us, a genetic memory that still shapes our behavior. The need to belong, to be a part of something larger than ourselves, may be more than just a psychological need. It may be a deep biological imperative, a quiet whisper from a time when belonging was a matter of life and death. This concept of genetic memory also helps to explain some of the strange and seemingly irrational behaviors that we see in ourselves and in the animal kingdom. Why do baby sea turtles, for example, instinctively head for the ocean after they hatch, even though they have never seen it before? The knowledge of the ocean, the pull toward the water, is not something they have learned. It is a part of their genetic memory, a quiet biological instruction that tells them what to do. In the same way, some of our own behaviors, our fears, our desires, our very nature, may be a kind of silent instruction, a deep and powerful story that is still being told. The truth is, we are not just a product of our environment or our individual choices. We are also a product of our history, a living testament to a long and winding journey. Every time you recoil from a sudden noise or feel a surge of fear in a dark room, you are not just a person feeling a feeling. You are a living monument to an ancient, survival-based instinct, a quiet whisper from a time when the world was a much more dangerous place. This raises an interesting question. If we carry these ancient memories, these hardwired instincts, can we ever truly break free from them? Can we overcome the fears and biases that are a part of our genetic makeup? The truth is, we don't know for sure. But the very act of being aware of them, the very act of trying to understand where they come from, is a crucial first step. It is the beginning of a conversation between our conscious mind and our ancient primal past. We are a beautiful paradox, a creature that is both a product of its history and a master of its own destiny. We are a living library of biological memories, a collection of ancient stories that are still being written, and we are the only ones who can truly appreciate their beauty. The next time you feel a surge of emotion, a pang of fear, or a wave of love, I want you to remember that you are not just a person feeling a feeling. You are a living testament to an ancient genetic symphony, a beautiful and powerful force that is as old as time itself. Our exploration of genetic memory has shown us how the silent whispers of our ancestors still shape our deepest instincts. We are a living library of ancient fears and desires. But this long and winding journey has not been one of perfection. The human body is a beautiful and imperfect work of art, a collection of evolutionary compromises that tells a profound story of our past. We carry within us a museum of relics, a quiet collection of body parts and processes that no longer serve their original purpose, but remain as a silent testament to what we once were. Think of the coccyx, or the tailbone at the base of your spine. It is a cluster of fused vertebrae, a silent monument to our tailed ancestors. For them, a tail was a crucial tool for balance and communication. It was a kind of fifth limb, a graceful appendage that helped them navigate a world of trees and canopies. But as we committed to bipedalism, the tail became obsolete. It was not lost, however. It simply atrophied, a quiet example of a process known as vestigiality, where a body part that was once useful becomes a useless, or nearly useless remnant. This is a quiet truth. We are walking around with a ghost of a tail, a gentle reminder that we were once a different kind of creature. Another beautiful and strange example of this is the ear muscles. You can probably feel them, the tiny muscles around your outer ear. But can you move your ears? For most of us, the answer is no. But for our distant ancestors, these muscles were a crucial tool for survival. They were used to swivel the ears, to pinpoint the source of a sound, to detect the rustle of a predator in the bushes. A dog can still do this, and you can see a direct link to a time when we, too, relied on our hearing to survive. Now the ear muscles are a quiet vestigial echo, a beautiful and pointless part of our anatomy that reminds us of a time when we were more in tune with the world of sound. The erector pili muscles, which cause goosebumps, are another example. As we've discussed, they are a relic of a time when our ancestors had more hair. They would contract in moments of fear or cold, making the hair stand on end, a kind of biological bluff that was meant to make us look bigger and more intimidating. Now, in a world where we can simply put on a jacket or turn up the heat, they are a quiet and beautiful remnant, a kind of emotional ghost that still haunts our skin. This raises a quiet philosophical question. What does it mean to be a creature of compromises? Is our very existence a testament to the fact that perfection is not the goal of evolution? The truth is, evolution doesn't strive for perfection. It just tinkers. It repurposes. It makes do with what it has. And the result is a body that is a beautiful, if imperfect, work of art. The human appendix, as we've discussed, is a quiet example of this. It is a remnant of a time when our ancestors ate a more herbivorous diet, and it was used to digest tough plant matter. Now, it is a liability, a prone to infection organ, that is a frequent cause of trouble. But even in its uselessness, it tells a story of a time when we were a different kind of creature, a different kind of eater. The human body is a kind of biological time capsule, a silent and beautiful collection of memories. Every time you shiver, or your hair stands on end, or you feel a pang of fear, you are not just a person feeling a feeling. You are a living testament to an ancient, survival-based instinct, a quiet whisper from a time when the world was a much more dangerous place. We are a collection of triumphs and compromises, a beautiful and poignant reminder that the past is never truly gone. It is woven into the very fabric of our flesh and bone. The truth is, we are a living paradox, a creature that is both a masterpiece and a museum. But the relics in our bodies are not just physical. They are also subtle biological processes that no longer make much sense in our modern world. Consider, for example, the palmar grasp reflex in infants. A newborn baby, when you place your finger in its hand, will instinctively grip it with surprising strength. This is an ancient reflex, a quiet echo of a time when our primate ancestors' babies needed to cling to their mother's fur to survive. It is a beautiful and moving fact that this instinct is still a part of who we are, a silent testament to a time when our very lives depended on a strong grip. Another intriguing example is the wisdom teeth. For our ancestors who ate a much tougher and more fibrous diet, a third set of molars was a necessary tool. Their jaws were larger, and the wisdom teeth had a crucial role to play in grinding down food. But as our diet changed, and as our jaws became smaller, there was no longer any room for these teeth. Now they are a common source of pain, and are often removed, a quiet reminder of a time when our mouths were a little different. It's a fascinating little-known truth that our modern dental problems are a direct consequence of a change in our diet that happened thousands of years ago. The nictitating membrane, or third eyelid, is another silent relic. In many animals, from birds to sharks, this transparent membrane is used to protect the eye and to keep it clean. In humans, it is a tiny pinkish fold in the corner of our eye, a useless vestige that reminds us of a time when we, too, needed an extra layer of protection. This is a beautiful and strange fact. We carry a ghost of an eyelid in our eyes, a quiet reminder of our distant non-primate ancestors. This concept of evolutionary baggage is a powerful one. It reminds us that our bodies are not a perfect machine, but a collection of solutions that were developed over millions of years, often in response to problems that no longer exist. Our susceptibility to back pain, our problematic sinuses, our unnecessary wisdom teeth, they are not flaws in design. They are the scars of our journey, the quiet, beautiful compromises that tell a story of a long and winding path. The human body is a beautiful and poignant paradox. We are a creature capable of space travel and abstract thought, and yet, we are still haunted by the ghosts of our past. We are still governed by instincts that were developed in a world of predators and scarcity. The truth is, we are a living testament to the fact that the past is never truly gone. It is a part of who we are, a quiet and beautiful force that has shaped every living thing on this planet. We are a walking, breathing museum, and we are the only ones who can truly appreciate its beauty. We have journeyed through the vast winding story of how evolution built the human body. We began with a single fragile bubble in the primordial soup, and we end here, with you, a living, breathing testament to 4 billion years of patient, beautiful, and imperfect work. We have seen how a simple backbone became a graceful spine, how a fin became a hand, and how a light-sensitive patch of skin became a theater for the mind. But what does it all mean? What is the point of this long, winding, and often difficult journey? The truth is, we are a living museum. Our bodies are not just physical machines. They are a collection of triumphs and compromises. A beautiful and poignant reminder that the past is never truly gone. Think of your own body right now. The curve of your spine is a quiet echo of the struggle to stand upright. The arch of your foot is a testament to the commitment to walk. The gentle pulse of your heart is a rhythm that has been beating for millions of years. And the thoughts that are running through your mind, the questions you are asking, are a direct consequence of a brain that began as a simple cluster of neurons in a small, ancient creature. Every part of you, from the tiniest cell to the grandest thought, is a part of this story. You are not a single creation. You are a living, breathing epic, a masterpiece of biological art that is still being painted. The story of evolution is not a story of perfection. It is a story of a brilliant tinkerer, a patient artist that works with what it has, leaving behind relics and compromises along the way. Our bodies are filled with these ghosts of the past, these beautiful and pointless parts that remind us of what we once were. The coccyx, a remnant of a tail. The erector pili muscles that cause goosebumps. The wisdom teeth that no longer have a place in our mouths. These are not flaws in design. They are the scars of our journey, the quiet, beautiful compromises that tell a story of a long and winding path. We are, in essence, a living library of biological memories, a collection of ancient stories that are still being written. We carry the whispers of our ancestors in our instincts, in our fears, in our deepest desires. The fear of snakes, the need for social connection, the thrill of a challenge, they are all a part of an ancient script that was written for us millions of years ago. But we are not just a product of our history. We are also a product of our choices, a master of our own destiny. We have a brain that can ponder its own existence, a consciousness that can ask why, and a hand that can change the world. The human body is a beautiful and poignant paradox. We are a creature capable of space travel and abstract thought. And yet, we are still haunted by the ghosts of our past. We are still governed by instincts that were developed in a world of predators and scarcity. The truth is, we are a living testament to the fact that the past is never truly gone. It is a part of who we are, a quiet and beautiful force that has shaped every living thing on this planet. This journey has been a long one. We began in the dark, warm waters of the primordial soup, and we end here, in the quiet of your room, in the soft hum of the night. I want you to take a moment to feel the weight of this truth. You are not just a person. You are a living, breathing testament to the incredible, patient power of life. You are a quiet and beautiful mystery, a living museum, and the greatest masterpiece of all. Our journey together is drawing to a close now. The story of how we were built, of how the vast winding river of evolution sculpted us from ancient, forgotten blueprints, has come to a gentle pause. I'd like to invite you to slowly bring your awareness back to this moment, back to the space you are in. Feel the soft texture beneath you, the quiet stillness of the air. The story we've shared is not ending. It's simply fading into the backdrop of your own life, a gentle whisper you can carry with you. Our bodies are a soft echo of the deep, deep past, a testament to a long and winding journey that is still unfolding. I'd like to gently ask one last time, where is the place you're staying now? The time in that place, at this very moment, how is it flowing? Feel it gently brush past you, like a soft breeze. The night is a vast open sea, and you are a vessel, a quiet, beautiful miracle floating on its surface. As you drift, let the thoughts of the past and the future slowly fade away. And just be here, in this moment, in this peaceful space. If you feel so inclined, you can gently close your eyes and let the quiet wash over you. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to worry about. Only the slow, steady rhythm of your breath and the soft hum of your heart. Sleep well, my companion, wherever and whenever you are. Sweet dreams.